My name is Jonathan. I'm 38 years old, a father of one, and until last year, I believed that trust, once built, was stronger than any storm. My wife's name is Claire. We were together for 9 years. Married for 7, she was my anchor. My calm, the one I made coffee for every morning, the one I kissed on the forehead every night before turning out the lights. We didn't have a perfect marriage, but it was real. And I never thought anything or anyone could undo it, but I was wrong. It started small, missed calls, her looking away a little too quickly when I asked if something was wrong, the silence during dinner. Then one night, she sat me down with a look I'd never seen in her eyes before. Not fear, not anger. It was disappointment, heavy, cold. "I know what you did, Jonathan," she said. I froze. "What? What are you talking about?" Her voice cracked, but her stare didn't. "Don't insult me. Lisa told me everything." Lisa, her best friend since college, maid of honor at our wedding, godmother to our daughter. "What exactly did Lisa tell you?" "She saw the messages. She saw the hotel receipt. She saw your name. And hers." I felt the ground shift. I had no idea what she was talking about. "Claire, I haven't cheated on you." "I don't know what you're." "Stop." She stood up, walked into our bedroom, came back with a small overnight bag. "I'm taking Ava to my mother's for a few days. Claire, please, don't do this. Let's talk." But she was already walking away. That was the last night I slept in our house. I spent the next 3 weeks on a friend's couch. No answers. No contact. Just pain. I replayed every conversation, scrolled through every account, checked my emails, texts, call logs. Nothing. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't lied. I hadn't even been tempted, but she believed I had, because Lisa, her best friend, told her so, and in one night, her word outweighed years of love. I didn't chase, not because I didn't care, but because I knew that truth, if it lived anywhere, would outlast the lie, and it did, but not in the way I expected. 3 months later, Claire knocked on my door, tears in her eyes, and the truth she brought with her was far worse than the lie. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was tied back like she didn't have the strength to care, and her shoulders slumped in a way I'd never seen before. Claire always carried herself like she had it together, even when she didn't. But this time, everything about her said one thing. Broken. I didn't say anything. Just opened the door and stepped aside. She walked in slowly, looking around like it was a stranger's apartment, even though she used to live here. Her eyes stopped on the framed photo of Ava on the end table, the one I stared at every night. Before falling asleep, she turned to me. "I need to talk to you," she said. I nodded and gestured toward the couch. She sat, hands in her lap, eyes not quite meeting mine. It wasn't true. She said, the words came so softly, I thought I misheard her. "What?" She looked up then. Tears already there, like they'd been waiting for a chance to escape. "Lisa lied." There it was. 3 syllables. Heavy enough to snap every bone I'd been holding together with duct tape since the day she left. I sat down slowly across from her. "She made it up?" I asked. She nodded. "All of it. The messages. The hotel. The receipt." She said she faked the screenshots because she thought I was losing myself in you, that I needed to wake up. "Wake up from what?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. Claire wiped her eyes. She said I was becoming dependent, that I was giving too much of myself to you, that you were too perfect. I laughed, not out of humor, out of disbelief. She ruined our marriage because I was. "What kind?" She said, "No man is that good. And if he seems like he is, He's probably hiding something. I leaned forward, my elbows on my knees, hands laced tightly, so instead of asking me, "You believed her?" Claire looked away. I know. No, Claire, don't look away. I need to hear you say it. She turned back slowly. I believed her. And I didn't even give you the chance to defend yourself. I left. I took our daughter and I walked out. Without ever asking you if it was true, and you were so sure, I said. So sure I was the villain. She nodded. I am so sorry, Jonathan. I don't even know where to start making this right. I didn't answer right away. The room was thick with a silence I used to know well back when I was sleeping alone in a bed that used to smell like her hair. Back when I was replaying. Every moment wondering if I had missed something, but I hadn't missed anything. She had, and she was finally seeing it. What changed? I asked. What made you see the truth? She swallowed hard. She tried to do it again. To someone else. My eyebrows furrowed. My cousin Claire said. Lisa thought she was getting too close to her boyfriend. So she tried to plant fake messages, even faked a phone call. But my cousin, she's smarter than me. She asked questions, checked timestamps, called the hotel. It all unraveled, and then Lisa admitted she made it up. Said she'd done it before. Said she was trying to protect people from men who take too much, but she was always the one taking things away. I leaned back, my heart thudding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. Claire continued, her voice cracking. She told me the truth, not because she wanted to, but because my cousin threatened to go to the police if she didn't explain everything. She broke down and confessed it all, including what she did to you. To us. I stared at her. She ruined my family, Claire. I know, she said. And I helped her. Tears streamed freely down her face now. I didn't just believe her. I abandoned you. I didn't even fight for the truth. I left you in the dark with nothing. You didn't even ask me. I whispered. I know. A pause. I was hurt, Jonathan. But not because I thought you cheated. I was hurt because deep down, I believed someone could love me that completely, and I got scared. And when someone handed me an excuse to run, I took it. My hands trembled. Not with anger, not with sadness, with finality. You destroyed everything. We built, I said. Claire nodded. I did, and now. She looked up. I'm not asking you to take me back. I don't deserve that. I'm just here because you deserve to know it was never you. It was me, and Lisa, and my own fears. You were the only thing that was real. I stood up. I had to. I couldn't sit in that pain 1 second longer. Claire stood too. I'll go, she said, her voice small. She moved toward the door. Hand on the handle, but before she opened it, I said, wait. She turned. Ava. She still asks for you. Claire nodded, breaking again. I miss her so much. You should see her. But slowly, carefully, of course, I'm not doing this for you, I added. I'm doing it for her. She deserves her mother. Claire looked at me for a long time. Thank you, she whispered, and then she left. The door closed, and for the first time in months, I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. The truth had come, and it hurt, but it also freed me, because now I knew. I hadn't lost Claire. She had lost herself, and I had survived the lie. I didn't call anyone after she left. I didn't pour a drink, or cry, or replay the conversation. I just sat there on the couch, in the silence, and let it be real. It had taken months, but the truth had finally arrived, and it hadn't come as some grand redemption arc. Not as a dramatic reunion or a teary confession with a movie ending. A tea came heavy, messy, tangled in shame and regret. But it came, and now I had a choice. Not whether to take Claire back. That answer had already lived in me long before she knocked on the door. But what I would do next. Now that the lie was deadened, the future was finally mine again. Over the following weeks, we started arranging time for Claire to see Ava, short visits. At first, public places. I made sure Ava didn't carry the weight of what happened, that she didn't feel like one of her parents had failed her, or like love had fallen apart because of something she had done. I shielded her the best I could, because that's what fathers do. And in every one of those meetings, Claire looked at me like someone trying to understand a stranger she once loved, like someone realizing, far too late, that the man she doubted had always been the one holding everything together. She started asking questions about the restaurants, my new project, how I was able to function after everything fell apart. I gave her honest answers, not cold, not cruel, just clear, because clarity was all I had left to offer. One afternoon, after Ava's piano lesson, Claire lingered at the park bench a little too long. You know, she said, I used to think love meant never being wrong, never doubting each other. I didn't say anything. But it's not, is it? I shook my head. No. It's about what you do after the doubt, after the mistake. She looked down. I didn't choose you when it mattered. You didn't even give me the chance to defend myself. Silence stretched between us. Then she whispered, Is there someone else? I looked at her. No, her eyes lifted. Hope flickered, but there will be. And that was the truth. I wasn't holding out for the past anymore. I wasn't trying to fix what she broke. I was simply done waiting for someone who hadn't chosen me when the truth had been a phone call away. The day I packed the last of her things from the attic, I found a photo of us. It was from a vacation we took in Colorado. She was laughing. I had my arms around her. We looked young, whole. I stared at it for a long time. Then I put it in the bottom drawer, under some old books, not to forget, but to remember how far I'd come. Because grief, I've learned, doesn't mean you want something back. It just means you understand what it cost, and I had paid enough. 6 months later, Claire started dating someone new. I heard about it through mutual friends. She didn't try to hide it, didn't announce it either. She just moved on. As did I. Only difference was I moved forward, toward something fuller, quieter, more honest, the kind of life where I didn't have to explain myself or prove I wasn't the man someone else said I was. I just lived and let that be enough. Sometimes people ask me if I regret not forgiving her, if I ever wondered what might have happened had we tried again, and I tell them this. I forgave her, but I didn't invite her back, because forgiveness isn't about reopening the door. It's about finally closing it without locking yourself inside. Today, Ava is thriving. She paints now, wants to be an artist, and every time she smiles at me, I'm reminded that love is not always about holding on. Sometimes it's knowing when to protect what matters, be walking away from what doesn't. Single quotes. T.S. for me. I'm still building, still healing, still soft in a world that tried to make me hard. But most of all, I'm free, free from the lie, free from the version of myself that needed someone else to believe in me in order to believe in myself. And that, more than anything, is the ending I never saw coming but always deserved. The first time I smiled without guilt was at Ava's 8th birthday. It was just a backyard party, balloons, pizza, a homemade cake I probably overbaked. But it was real. Her laughter wasn't trying to hold anything together. It simply lived in the air, free of the weight that had once clouded our home. Claire was there too. She brought presents, helped set up, played her part like a woman who had accepted her place outside the center of things. I appreciated that. She No longer lingered too long. And no longer stared too hard. And when we locked eyes, there was something quieter in her gaze, not longing, not expectation, just recognition of what she broke, of what I rebuilt. It was strange at first, this new kind of peace. There was no big moment, no dramatic turning point, just little things. Making Ava's school lunches again, staying late at the restaurant because I wanted to, not because I needed to, sleeping in a bed that didn't feel empty anymore, just mine, and the realization that somehow I didn't miss Claire. I missed the idea of her, the version of her that existed before the lie, but that woman had never truly existed. She was built on hope and trust, and everything I thought was mutual, and when tested, she chose fear, chose doubt, chose someone else's voice over mine. That memory doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me why I don't settle for less than honesty now. A few months after the birthday party, Ava asked me why Mommy and Daddy weren't married anymore. She asked with the innocence only children can carry. And no blame, no bitterness, just curiosity. I sat her down on the couch. Sometimes, I said, people make mistakes. Grown-up mistakes, she nodded. Like breaking things? I smiled. Exactly. But not all broken things can be glued back together. Why? Because sometimes when you try, they don't hold the same way. They look the same, but inside, they're cracked. She thought for a moment. Do you still love her? I didn't answer right away. I loved her once, I said gently. And that was real. But love needs truth to grow. Without it, it gets sick. And ours didn't survive. Ava leaned into me. But you still love me, right? I pulled her into my chest. Always. You are the part of that love that didn't break. She didn't say anything after that. She didn't need to. Neither did I. By the time the divorce was finalized, Claire had signed everything without resistance. And no fight. No mess. She even wrote me a letter. One I never replied to, but I read it. Once, she said she knew I could never forget what she did, that she respected the distance I kept, that watching me become stronger without her was the hardest truth she had ever had to face. At the bottom of the page, she wrote, "You are never the one who betrayed us. I was, and I lost the only man who ever made me feel safe because I didn't trust the safety when I had it." I folded it quietly, placed it in the back of a drawer I rarely opened, not out of malice, out of peace. Some truths aren't meant to be framed, just remembered. Life moved on. But this time, I didn't chase it. I walked with it. I started mentoring young chefs, expanded the restaurant's community kitchen program, taught Ava how to make grilled cheese without burning the toast, and somewhere in all that, without even looking, I met someone new. Her name is Mara, a teacher, patient, warm, soft-spoken, but sharp in all the ways that matter. She didn't ask for explanations. She didn't dig for old scars. She just showed up as herself, and when I told her the story about Claire, about Lisa, about how fast everything can collapse, when trust is a house of cards, she didn't pity me. She simply said, "It takes strength not to build walls after that. You chose windows instead." I didn't realize until that moment how much I had needed someone to see that, not the pain, the refusal to let the pain define me. Claire and I still see each other, through Ava, through the shared responsibility of raising a child we both adore, but we're no longer tied by bitterness. We're bound by memory and by the quiet, mutual acceptance of a truth we'll never unwrite. We don't talk about what happened anymore, because what happened is over, and what came after, that's mine, not hers, not Lisa's, not the world's, mine. A story not of revenge, but of resilience, of rebuilding quietly, without applause, until one day you wake up in a life that no longer echoes the lie that once tried to destroy you, and in that life you breathe deeper because you know now you're never broken, Just misjudged, and you'll never let someone else write your ending again. I never planned to tell the whole story, not to friends, not even to Mara, not because I was hiding, but because some wounds don't need an audience. They just need time and the right kind of silence to close on their own. But one night, Mara and I sat watching the rain through the window, Ava asleep down the hall, and she turned to me. "Do you still think about it?" she asked. She didn't need to say what it was. I paused, took a breath. "Not in the way I used to," I said. "It doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me what I'm no longer willing to tolerate." She smiled gently. "That's healing." I looked at her. This woman who hadn't lived through the fire with me, but who stood now in its ashes, not trying to sweep them away, but honoring what grew from them. I took her hand. "I didn't know people like you existed," I said. She squeezed back. "People like you make people like me possible." And that's when I understood something I hadn't been ready to accept before. Claire didn't just leave me. She made room for someone better to find me. Not better in competition, better in compatibility, in character, in calm. Because what Mara gave me wasn't adrenaline or chaos disguised as passion. It was steady, intentional, genuine. The kind of love that doesn't have to prove itself every day because it never disappears overnight. One evening, Ava came home from her mom's with a drawing. It was a picture of a house, stick figures, a sun in the corner, and 3 people in the middle: me, Ava, and Mara. She'd labeled it my home. I looked at it for a long time, not because I was surprised, but because I knew then. We were no longer missing anyone. Not Claire, not the past, not even the closure I once thought I needed so badly. We had arrived. Claire still calls sometimes. To ask about school events, holidays, Ava's schedule. She's polite, careful, a little too soft with her words, like she's afraid to say the wrong thing. And I get it. She'll always carry that guilt, but guilt isn't a punishment. It's the debt that lingers when you finally understand what your actions cost. And Claire paid dearly, not because I made her, but because the moment the truth came out, she saw who I really was and knew she'd never be invited back. People often ask what I learned from it all, and I say this: love is not loyalty to someone who believes the worst about you without asking. Love is not trying to prove yourself to someone who already made up their mind. Love is trust, and trust, once shattered without cause, becomes a mirror to cracked. To reflect anything real, you can forgive, you can move forward, but some cracks should never be patched, because the strongest homes are built where truth is allowed to breathe, not where lies once took root. Years from now, Ava will ask deeper questions. She'll want to know what really happened, why we broke, why I never let her mother back in, and when that time comes, I'll tell her the truth gently, that love requires honesty, that some mistakes can be repaired, but others reveal character. And that day, I won't speak with anger. I won't speak to villainize anyone. I'll speak as a man who once loved deeply, lost painfully, and rose quietly, because rising is never loud. It's built in early mornings, in the dignity of silence, in the strength to walk away from someone who made you question your own worth. And the moment you find peace in that decision, that's the ending, that's the freedom, that's the life that waits on the other side of betrayal, not for revenge, not for regret, but for something real. And now, finally, I live there.